All right, welcome into the high noon edition of Pugs and Company. Oh, hold on. Let's bring Ian. Breaking news, top of the hour, CNN. Let's see what this is about. Hey, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome.
That's better. Better from yesterday for sure.
Are you seeing this breaking news?
I am changing the channel as we speak.
It's just CNN. I don't.
Yeah, breaking news could be Wolf Blitzer's leaving his bathroom.
Now, the breaking news is that this show almost didn't happen today because the social platforms have all crashed. There is. Well, hold on. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp.
Yeah, they've been closed off all day long. Apparently. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. Just as they're doing this breaking news, is Facebook back up? Let me see. Hold on. So the primary platform that we use for this show is Facebook. We would like it to be YouTube, but Facebook is where the people are. So, you got to use Facebook to migrate over to YouTube. And I spoke with that. Now, this is crazy because Facebook is coming up on my phone app, but it is not coming up on my laptops.
Yeah, it's coming up on my phone app as well.
But it's not. Okay, so I'm guessing that the phone apps are then, let me see.
Phone apps have some stuff that are preloaded in them.
Yeah, but
I don't know if you get current updates.
Yes, that's exactly it. Because I'm looking at the most recent thing on my phone app comes from 14 hours ago. So,
let me go into. I can go into my phone app now. Let's see. Yeah. No, I don't think. Yeah, I just don't think you're coming up right now. Maybe. I don't know. It's doing the countdown as we talk here.
Yeah, I got you, Ed. I know. We figured that. See, we figured that out. Ed's reminding me that I'm just seeing stuff on my phone that isn't current. I'm like, yep, we got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think so too.
There was a big issue about 15 minutes ago where I didn't think we were going to do this today simply because of the Facebook crash. But then I realized this show doesn't have to be. I mean, I like that it's live. I like that when things are happening, if things should happen while the show is going live, that we can be on. But the truth of the matter is that, the YouTube page is where you see, like you look at a show, there might be X amount of people listening live, but then you look at the YouTube video and you're like, that's not how many people were watching live. So people will watch this later. So no matter who's here joining us as we do this, I mean, I guess when Facebook comes up, we'll just, as we today, we'll repost the show. And then, someone wants to listen to this at 5 o'clock this afternoon or 4 o'clock this afternoon or whatever. So I was very angry. I was, Ed sort of put that in my head. Well, he didn't say it in so many words, but I was like, this is where the people are. It's like, how can we reach the people? They can't even connect. And then I'm like, well, actually, the whole purpose of new media is that it's not necessarily on anyone's individual schedule. You can consume it whenever you want. So let me reestablish here. I don't know where James is. Drunk James last night said that he was going to be coming by for the show today, but
yeah, and evidently I had a volume control issue, and that's why I couldn't hear y'all.
I love this. This is not any sort of arrow that I'm trying to sling here.
But sure it is.
Is it possible that maybe your kid played with a volume knob or something when you weren't looking?
I mean, it could be. He gets on that Roblox app and they have music in their games, and they have these noises when the guy dies. So it could be that he did that. I don't know. The thing that I did notice was that my toolbar had moved from the bottom of my page to the top of my page, and I just thought that was some kind of magic that occurs every now and then.
Right. Occasionally we see things that are different and we roll with it because in our generation, this is whatever.
It worked the same, and so I didn't know. And then this morning when Ed came in and he fixed everything up, he's like, "Hey, did you notice your toolbar was up on the top of the screen versus on the bottom of the screen? I moved it back down to the bottom." I said, "Yeah, I did, but it worked the same. I didn't think much of it."
The- the-
So evidently there's something going on. And I guess it's a mouse thing and a click thing and a keyboard thing. You kind of do things together. Um, yeah. So I'm
the
still
reason that
back in I thought computers were a fad days.
the reason I suggested that it might be your kid is because a few weeks back, after having my kid for the weekend, I tried to start the show on a Monday afternoon, and I couldn't find it. I thought the whole thing had, and it turned out that he had X'd out of something. He's not even allowed. See, this computer, this whole setup over here where we do the show, when the kid is here, this is like daddy's gun closet. He's not allowed to play with any of this stuff.
Fair enough.
He's not allowed to go near it. And we had to reestablish that rule after I realized that he had touched the computer that runs the show. And even though it was a simple case of just him minimizing something, I couldn't find it. And I don't know if you know this about me, folks, but in the moment, I typically don't handle adversity well. I flipped out a little bit. I thought the worst. I'm like, oh my God, the sky is falling. The entire thing is crashed. So, but now we're past that. And now we understand you don't go near daddy's gun closet. You don't, this is not something that you need to be interested in, even though he is very interested in. All right, here's what we do on the High Noon Show. It airs every Monday through Friday, noon to about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We double back in the evening. It's the Pillow Talk edition. That airs at 10 p.m. This show is typically driven on topics, typically all the things that are trending, things to get you all prepped up for the day ahead or the day that you're in the middle of, depending on when you woke up. I slept a little bit late today. I woke up at 9:20. That's late for me on a day, and that's like super sleeping in for you. That's
Well, it's only super sleeping in for me because I've got to get up and do carpool at like 6:45. So
if you were left to your own devices as a man of leisure, as an artiste, what time do you think you would sleep to?
I think about 9:30, 10. Like I don't, there's really nothing that needs to happen at the office in my mind before 10.
Do you know, yeah, right? I don't think there's anything that happens in the world. I mean, unless I don't know. I say this shit and then I catch my reflection in the mirror and I go, that's why you're you. I mean, I imagine that go-getters wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning when they don't have carpool just because they want to seize the day. Carpe diem, that whole bit.
Well, I mean, if you think about it as the business owner, you're on call 24/7.
Yeah.
Like that you don't really get to check out and go home because if, crap hits the fan, you're going to be the one to get the call. So to me, I kind of look at it like I'll stroll in. Well, I don't have to now, but when I did, have the 140 employees and stuff, I would like stroll in probably about 10. But, there'd be the morning breakfast. You'd have to go and meet a client or the morning marketing meeting and things like that. So, but yeah, if left to my own devices, I think 10 o'clock's a good start date
I think
or
10
start
o'clock's
time.
great. And then what time is bed? 10 o'clock. I think here's how I would have my preferred day. 10 o'clock to 3 a.m. That's it. That's it. If I could stay up 10 o'clock to 3 a.m., I feel like that would be how my body is naturally geared to accept the world around it. I don't. Does 3 a.m. sound late? I only need 6 or 7 hours of sleep.
I don't need much sleep, but I think like the 3 a.m. is late, except if it's the weekends. Like I think you roll with 10 to 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday, and then I think you got to go 10 to like 12, 12:30 the rest of the week.
I think prime shit happens about 2 p.m. That's if you got to be up, you got to be at your best at 2 p.m. if you want to. I don't think that anything really big happens at 9:30 in the morning. People are still drinking their coffee, people are still grouchy. And then
Yeah,
everything gets pushed back till after lunch.
one of my very successful friends, he's like, nothing good happens before 1 p.m. Like, don't schedule me any meetings.
Yeah.
Like his office knows that he is not just going to be in any kind of a mood until 1 p.m. or later. So he's just, for years, it's been like, I'll be around at 1. Short of that, call me on my cell phone.
Yeah, I think that probably the most productive and the most uh what will we say, creative, the most interesting and the best things occur, are you ready for this, at 2 p.m. sometime in the middle of October. See, I expanded it about a bit because I don't believe that anything happens between Labor Day and Memorial Day, or is it Memorial Day and Labor Day, whichever it is. Not the entire world shuts down over the summer. If you're a creative, if you've got ideas, if you're in business, if you're trying to get something done, forget about it. Everything gets rolled off until, the summer is over. So summer is done. Then this happens again on Thanksgiving. You can't get anything done between Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve. Nothing. Everybody, let's circle back on that to the new year. You know what I mean? It's well, I mean,
Yeah, there's not a lot that gets started in the period of Thanksgiving and ends
no.
in the period of Christmas. If it's gotten started before, it could end in that period, or it could but it's not going to get started and completed
Mhm.
in the Thanksgiving through Christmas or through New Year's spot. I'll give you that. It's like it either had to start before Thanksgiving in order
Right.
to close then, or if it starts in that gap between Thanksgiving and New Year's, chances are it's not going to close until after
No.
New Year's.
You're given whoever the opposition is, the person that you're dealing with, you're giving them a built-in out to be able to say, well, let's circle back after summer. We'll get back in the fall. We'll do this. We're gonna make some changes in the fall, but right now, let's just have a drink on the boat. That's summer, and then you get into the Christmas season, and it's all about, oh man, let's just I just need to let's just get through the end of the year, and then we'll start fresh. That's the other thing.
Well, it's almost like a sign of desperation. I think if you like start something after Thanksgiving and you then try to get it finished before New Year's, it's like you try to play it cool, like, hey, you're not desperate for this to happen in that time period. And if you like leave the meeting and go, okay, let's schedule it before Christmas or New Year's, the follow up, yeah, you kind of are read as desperate. If you're playing poker, it'd be like, this guy's got something burning in his pants here in order to get this done.
Yeah. And then there's another situation that I think is regional. And this is anytime after the first, because they'll tell you, let's really back the first of the year. But if you're in the Midwest, or maybe even where you're from in the Northeast, nobody seems to want to do anything ever in January. In January, it's like too cold. Everybody's in a bad mood. Everybody's kind of counting. It's always about, well, let's do that next quarter. So there are only, I think the worst time to try and get something done in this country is mid-July before 10 a.m. That's nothing's going to get done mid-July before 10 a.m. The best time is October through mid-November, and then again, a really good time, I think, is around March 1st, when people start becoming re-energized because of the coming spring and all that. But again, you only got about a 7-8 week window there too, because then summer closes in and people are like, well, I'm heading out to Cabo for a couple of weeks with the family, and everything suddenly gets, I don't
Yeah,
know.
see, I think right after New Year's, like there's a lot started. Like a lot of stuff happens in January. And then I would say the little bit of a lull comes where spring break is. That's kind of where it's like, okay, but if you don't have projects rolling before spring break,
Yeah.
then they're not going to get finished before school's out.
I don't think that the January thing applies here, because that's why I said it's a bit of a regional thing. I think that when it's 30 below zero and you look outside and it just looks like a desolate winter wasteland, it's
Mhm.
not even cute Christmas snow anymore. At that point, it's just we're all gonna die snow. And that, I don't think that is really conducive to any sort of
I would agree up north in the January and the February months where it does get so ridiculously cold. There is kind of a hibernation going on in the office. In other words, like you might go to the office, but your likelihood of leaving the office before you go home is not that high. It's
no.
like you almost go in, you kind of nestle in there, you do probably a lot of phone work, but there's not a lot of outdoor or outside lunches or outside meetings because of the fact that the roads are so treacherous and you can get caught in a snowstorm and stuff like that.
it's just when you wake up in the morning to go to work, when you gotta warm up your car, when you gotta clear the snow and ice off your car, maybe, and then you're all bundled up, and it's just it's not. It's that's why probably it'd be better to do things in a nicer climate than in the winter. In the winter, it just seems like, especially where I'm from, everybody's just always got an excuse. It's it's I don't know. It's just something. So establishing again, this would be the month. Any of them, October is a big month. 2 weeks into November is a big month. March is a big month. April, until you get to the spring break portion of April, is a big month, and then that's it. That's it. That's the American way things roll.
All right, we got
Unless
that
you
off
unless you're
the
in a nice
list.
climate. California, I seem to think, because it's always summer there. California, I think it's constant. I think it's 365, 24/7 in California, because they don't have these climate issues.
All right. I
I mean,
ain't gonna debate that. It seems like every time you are in California, the weather is good.
well, it's always springtime in California.
They got massive. I'm just looking here right now. They got a massive oil spill going on there.
Yeah, Huntington Beach. That's okay. So let's start off here. Let's get into the trending topics. The number one trending topic across all platforms, except of course Facebook, would be the outage of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. 3 companies, all owned by the parent company of Facebook. Do you know what the parent company of Facebook is? What is the parent? What's that called? Trying to figure that out. Let's see. What is
Is like ABC is Google or whatever
yeah.
that is?
Yeah. Google's parent, like the company that owns Google, which is in fact a spinoff of Google that they just put on top, is ABC or Alphabet.
Alphabet, yeah, it's Alphabet.
I think it's Alphabet. All right.
Yeah. I would think Facebook's parent company is Facebook.
I'm going to ask this. Yeah, Facebook Inc. Okay, so Facebook Inc. is the actual primary parent company of Instagram. Are we both getting texts from Ed?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. We got you, Ed. See, Ed isn't faster than me just going to Google here. So I appreciate that. But Facebook owns everything else. Facebook does not have a parent company. It's just Facebook, but Facebook owns everything else under it, like Instagram and WhatsApp. And that's what's trending number one today, because at about 10:40 our time here, Central Standard Time, actually, I think that's what the deal is. There was a widespread outage throughout Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and again, I don't know what else they own. But it's very curious that this happened this morning. And that's because even if the outage hadn't have happened, Facebook would have still been trending in the top 3 topics across all platforms because of what happened last night on 60 Minutes. Are you familiar with last night's 60 Minutes broadcast?
I think, no, I'm not, but I kind of have already guessed after seeing some of the headlines of what occurred.
Yeah. So what happened was a whistleblower who works for Facebook, or who had worked for Facebook. Her name is Frances Haugen. She was a computer scientist who was in charge of their public integrity program there. She was brought in. She worked for Pinterest. She worked for Google. She was a very highly sought after person in this field of work. And Facebook brought her in right around the time of the election. Remember when Facebook was all like, oh no, we're going to start flagging, people who are putting out misinformation and all that. She was brought in to sort of head up a group that was going to be in charge of all of the bullshit that's on Facebook, because Facebook is full of bullshit. I'm not saying that Twitter isn't full of bullshit. It is. I'm not saying that YouTube isn't full of bullshit. It is. However, Facebook was specifically troublesome because of the way, the breadth and reach of its influence. Your crazy aunt is on Facebook. Your grandma is on Facebook. Everybody. Facebook is sort of the entry-level training wheel social media platform. People joined Facebook, and then, younger people migrated to Twitter. Younger people migrated to Instagram. Why? Because their grandma and their aunt and their uncle and their crazy neighbors were all on Facebook. That is That is why people move. That's why I abandoned Facebook for actually I abandoned Facebook for about 3 years, only coming back recently. Uh, just because I didn't. It seems like with Twitter and Instagram, I have more control over whose crazy opinions I see. Whereas on Facebook, it's like everybody from high school who I thought was an idiot in 1988 is now haunting my Facebook timeline. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
you do get a following of your past on Facebook. I wouldn't know these people.
it's like people I don't want to hear from were people I was hearing from regularly on Facebook. Whereas on Twitter, I have a very finely curated list of people whose posts that I see, and those are people whose posts I want to see. But on Facebook, you become friends with friend. You know, in the early days, you just become friends with anybody, and then suddenly it's like I don't even like this person. Why are we friends now? Before I went on Facebook, I got rid of about 400 people. Before I signed back on, I went through the whole list, not the whole list, but I knew that there were certain people that I was like, I'm unfriending that dude. But I still see these people's posts, and I don't know how that is.
Yeah, I used to do the Facebook. Okay, like me, I'll find them on Facebook, and then we'd sign up. Like if you'd have a meeting and you get their Facebook page, you check them out, and then you'd like the guy, and you get your Facebook fan, family together, kind of. And then all of a sudden, I was like, just kind of like you. I'm like, okay, I met with this guy one time. We're now Facebook friends. I
Right.
got no idea like why or how, we're connected, but then they just keep on coming back through. And so
And you're
I
like,
don't
I
know.
really hate this person's mind. I had drinks with him once. We discussed something, and now I know his innermost thoughts on things that I don't care about. Not only things that I don't care about, but things that I find personally offensive to my worldview.
And I understand that Twitter allows you to kind of choose your spots more,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's just it all requires so much damn work. I'm just like done with all of them.
See,
Like
I
I don't even like you can tell like my Facebook. I've just been off it now for I don't know,
well,
probably
you'll
close to
go
a
and
year.
you'll scroll, you'll pop in, and
Yeah, but
you're
I
not
don't like do
active.
content
No.
anymore, and like
Yeah.
I'm not active that way. And then like Twitter to me seems like you're going fishing. Like you throw some tweet out there as bait, and then like people will like it, and then you'll see somebody that likes it that you don't even know. It's not even your friend. And then you're like, why'd that guy like it? Or how did he get it? And I don't know. I don't even get all that.
Well,
I'm
here's what I
such a
like.
grandpa.
Here's why I prefer. No, you're not. Keep your head young. You're not a grandpa. You are.
Well, I'm a grandpa when it comes to this social media crap.
Hey, you're the same as Urban Meyer. You're the same age as Urban Meyer. You see what he was getting into over the weekend? We'll talk
That's why you don't want social media.
yeah, well, it certainly didn't do Urban Meyer any favors this past weekend. I
I
like
already think he's guilty, and I don't even know if he's guilty.
yeah, well, he's guilty of something.
Well,
Unlike
that's the point. It's like you see that and you're like, okay, that guy's guilty of something
he's
because
guilty
he's
of being
married.
he's guilty of being an asshole for the last 20 years. That's what I know. I haven't liked Urban Meyer since he left Florida. I just
And I've been trying to think of like explanations for it. And I haven't been able to come up with one that's acceptable.
no,
So
but
I
we'll get
assume
into it.
he's
Okay,
guilty. Yeah,
let's not
I
get
know.
too
We don't
far
want to
down that
jump
road
it.
because we're
Yeah.
going to talk about that. All right, Facebook last night took a big ass hit on 60 Minutes, and 60 Minutes hasn't really. Do you remember back in the day when, man, if Mike Wallace was in your parking lot waiting for you to come back from lunch, you were about to have a bad life. I mean, you remember when that shit
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Mike Wallace was the scariest man in America for business people because if you saw Mike Wallace, first of all, everybody watched 60 Minutes. There was only 3 channels, and everybody watched football on Sunday afternoons, and 60 Minutes came on right after football. So they had this massive audience that would have been a massive audience anywhere. And if Mike Wallace decided that you were an asshole, holy crap, the entire country thought you were didn't need social media. Mike Wallace was your one and
Yeah, he
only.
was the guy that would out you. Like before there
Yeah,
was outing somebody on Facebook, it was like
cancel it.
if Mike Wallace is
Yeah.
in your parking lot,
Oh
you've
boy.
been outed.
Yeah. So 60 Minutes kind of delved back into that last night where Facebook was the dude coming back from lunch in the parking lot with Mike Wallace stalking him. Here's the story. Frances Haugen says in her time with Facebook, she saw conflicts of interest between what she believed was good for the public and what was good for Facebook. So essentially, the crux of her entire piece last night was that as the public integrity officer, she was brought in to maintain the integrity of Facebook insofar as how it deals with the public and how the public interacts on the platform. That was the whole we're going to flag bullshit stories. We're going to let people know with a tag ahead of a post that something that is being shared isn't necessarily confirmed or isn't true. And we had a lot of problems with this, not just with the coronavirus or the vaccine. The vaccine is just the latest. But for years before that, Facebook was really the place where your crazy aunt got all of her bullshit opinions. And I mean, it became, I believe, and I might be wrong about this. I might be wrong but Facebook was at one point and maybe still is the number one news source in America where more people get their news from their timelines on Facebook. And that's a scary thing if you're just allowing people to share crazy.
Well, I mean, it's not like they've listed themselves as a news source. I mean, it's a social media platform, and
Right.
somehow people have taken to it and said, "Oh, well, I heard it on Facebook," like you read it in the Dallas Morning News. I mean, it's not the same thing.
It's more of a promotional platform for people to be able to share with a wider audience whatever crazy shit they got going on. And because we now live in this new media, not even new media. Why do we call it new media? We just call it digital media because new cannot be new after 20 years. Um, we now have people like myself who can go into you know, basically they can create their own newspapers with everything that looks legitimate. The masthead and the bylines and all of that. You can create your own. Three people can create something that is indistinguishable from the New York Times as far as how it looks and how it's shared on Facebook. And that is the real fake news. I know that the projection that evil people always project out to others what they're guilty of. So when we started calling the New York Times fake news, CNN the fake news, but nobody. I mean, those were the people from the Free Beacon or the Sacramento Bee. The Sacramento Bee sounds like a real newspaper, right? Sounds like a real newspaper that's in Sacramento. It's not. It's a crazy far-right conspiracy site that looks like a real newspaper. And these people were smart enough to put the name of a city in front of it so that people who aren't really going to be thinking about it all that deeply go, oh, well, this is obviously a legacy daily newspaper from the fine city of Sacramento. So it became more and more difficult to discern what is real and what is the crazy fat guy in his mom's basement just making up shit, right? That's where you had the fake news. That was fake news. Breitbart, Drudge linking to these things, Breitbart linking to these things, giving them wider audiences. But then suddenly, when those people started to be condemned for whatever it was, the narrative changed to CNN is fake news. New York Times is fake news. See, that's a projection. They know what they're doing, but they're putting it on somebody else to try and change the narrative. And that's something that Facebook has been guilty of, not really policing that.
And that job, like public integrity officer, I mean, shouldn't that be the owner of the company's job? Like, I mean,
Zuckerberg,
well, but I mean,
what?
aren't I going to be at odds with the public integrity officer if the public integrity officer is killing my marketing vibe? You know what I mean? It's kind of like if it's my pocketbook that's getting big and the public integrity officer comes out and goes, "Hey, we're marketing things that are violent. We're marketing things that are encouraging hate mail." How do I balance that? I mean,
Well,
I should not be for those types of things from the get-go, and if I am for those types of things, that I need a public integrity officer to talk me down off of that, chances are that public integrity officer is going to be gone because you're not going to tell the owner how to lose his money.
so by the way, Ed points out that the actual newspaper that was being confused for the Sacramento Bee, the actual legacy real newspaper, is the Fresno Bee. So people may have heard of the Fresno Bee, and then they see something from the Sacramento Bee, and without really thinking of it, they confuse Sacramento with Fresno because they're both cities in California that aren't San Francisco or Los Angeles, right? They all sort of blend together at that point. So there's now confusion. So people are now believing what they're reading in the Sacramento Bee is coming from a legacy newspaper like the Fresno Bee. And as far as
I'd make the Fresno Wasp.
Fresno, well, they shouldn't have to change their. Yeah, unfortunately, you have
Right.
years and years of actual legacy information. All right, so here's how I see this slippery slope became a slip and slide the entire country was enjoying for a while. Uh, News organizations, the real legacy news organizations, whether you're talking about the Dallas Morning News, the Fort Worth Star Telegram, the Chicago Tribune, the New York Times, the LA Times, whatever you're talking about, these organizations were established in the beginning from ground zero to be a way to inform the public. They were designed to be news organizations. And these people were journalists. And there used to be a thing called journalistic integrity. And when you would come out of J school, you had to pass all of these ethics courses and all of these things. So, and look, don't get, these people are today, yes, I know journalists today are different, but I'm talking about back when these established papers were brought up and why they were created to serve the public good, to inform the public. Yes, there was also some ads. There was also some of that stuff. By and large, we're talking about organizations who had a job and they were focused on the job. And that was to tell the day's news to the public because that's all there was. There wasn't TV. There wasn't even radio yet. There wasn't social media platforms. So what happened about 15 years ago or so when all of these things started popping up, people went, oh, wait a second. I've got a bunch of crazy batshit ideas, and I want people to also believe these crazy batshit ideas. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mimic what these other long established organizations have been doing for the last 100 years of American society. And I'm going to try and confuse people into thinking that I'm just like them. But the difference is that these things, the Sacramento Bees, these things, the Free Beacons, these things were not created with the same intent of the legacy ones. And we can argue all day long about whether or not legacy news media and all that has been complicit in this over the years, because I certainly think that television news has. Television news, I say this all the time. You want to blame somebody? Blame a guy named Fred Silverman. Fred Silverman is the guy who did this. Fred Silverman in the late 70s took over ABC News and looked at the news division and said, wait, why do we lose money on news? And somebody said, well, because news is designed to serve the public good. And it's part of our deal with the FCC, where if we allowed a certain amount of time to the public welfare and allowing people to be informed without us making money, then they'll let us make money on the public airwaves all the rest of the day. So news never made money. News was always, but again, Walter Cronkite never made $1 million a year. He was the most important man in America. What do you think a guy with the influence that Walter Cronkite had in 1970 would be making today? $100 million a year? Easily, right?
I don't even know that you could tell. Like, because that brand, if it were the brand that was accepted like Walter Cronkite was, if it was accepted today, Holy smokes.
Talk about influence, right? There's
Right.
money to be paid for that influence. But back then, Walter Cronkite didn't expect to make that kind of money because Walter Cronkite was actually doing something that was a loss leader for the network. Yes, he was well paid. He was certainly well paid for his time, but certainly not the way he would have been today. And that's what Fred Silverman did. Fred Silverman looked at ABC News around 1977 and he said, "Okay, I'm taking over this network. I got a crazy idea. Let's turn news into a profit center. Let's turn news, which had always been a big red mark on our corporate bottom line at the end of the year, let's turn that into a positive." And he created the news magazine. He created 2020. He created the idea that we could trick people into thinking they're getting news when really they're just getting fluff. He wasn't sinister about it. 2020 was the news magazine. It was, if it bleeds, it leads. You've heard of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the beginning of the if it bleeds, it leads era of television news, when they started realizing that you could make money off making people tune in at 6:00. You could make money having people tune in at 10:00 for the late local news, because you could use the rest of your platform, your sitcom. You could drop things in the middle of sitcoms. You could drop things at the bottom of the hour. Stay tuned at 10:00 tonight. We'll teach you about all the household appliances that could actually kill you tonight at 10. That shit was bullshit. That stuff was designed to get a bigger audience, and that's sort of when it lost its way. And ground zero for that is a guy by the name of Fred Silverman. You go ahead, look him up. Television genius by all accounts. Although he's also the guy that created the show Super Train, which was one of the biggest flops. In history. Yeah. All right. So now we have Facebook, which is one of the most widely used sources for information in this country. And they hired a girl named Frances Haugen. Frances Haugen was brought in to be the integrity officer to make sure that the 2020 election was all above board and that Facebook wasn't doing anything that could be in any way seen as complicit in the downfall of America. Her name is Frances Haugen. That is a fact that Facebook has been anxious to know since last month, when an anonymous former employee filed complaints with federal law enforcement. The complaints say Facebook's own research shows that it amplifies hate, misinformation, and political unrest. But the company hides what it knows. One complaint alleges that Facebook's Instagram harms teenage girls. What makes Haugen's complaints unprecedented is the trove of private Facebook research she took when she quit in May. The documents appeared first last month in the Wall Street Journal, but tonight Frances Haugen is revealing, this is a transcript from 60 Minutes, but tonight Frances Haugen is revealing her identity to explain why she became Facebook's whistleblower. So, without having to play the whole thing, but you can find it anywhere. She secretly copied tens of thousands of Facebook internal memos, internal research, all of the things that the big, scary, ugly people in the corner offices were doing in order to keep the hits coming, man, to make sure you could drive those ad dollars up, the pop-ups. And by the way, not for nothing, do you remember 15 years ago when Facebook first went public and the stock shot up, and then every expert, every non-visionary, everybody in the world said, they've got no way to monetize that. How are they ever going to monetize? I ain't putting a dime into that. Those people, the experts, are almost always wrong on shit like that, because Facebook is one of the most powerful and profitable companies in the world. And let me tell you, algorithms, that's how they were able to monetize it, because they're able to target your searches. They're able to target the things you talk about with products for sale that, meet the criteria that you're already interested in. You remember that, right?
For sure. I remember, like, people were like, oh, that's not going to last. How long could they get away without charging people to be a member of Facebook? Like, it seemed like the next MySpace to fail, and that guy just never figured out how to put the algorithms together.
Isn't that weird? Facebook, man, there was a period of time when Facebook was looking like, what was, not MySpace. What the hell was Facebook? I was on MySpace before I was on Facebook.
And everybody was.
And then everybody left. Why?
Tom became everybody's friend. He just didn't try to sell.
Right? Tom became the biggest star in the world. Right. Everybody liked Tom.
I know now he's there all by himself, no friends.
Well, I don't know. Have you checked in on Facebook or MySpace recently?
I haven't because I think like somehow I'm locked out of my account. I don't know.
Well, you can start it. I think it's time you start a new one.
Start a new one.
But MySpace is actually for people like you now. It's a MySpace, and right now you're thinking, what do you mean people like me? What are you trying to say? MySpace artists, yeah.
Right.
MySpace is very heavily involved in platforming stand-up comedians, local bands, people who are creators, people who, paint, all of that kind of stuff. And obviously because of that, it's a much smaller. Is this Ed going to give it? Ed should just call in. If he just wants to be a part of this segment, I would really like his input instead of just being distracted by the constant. Here we go. All right. Facebook wasn't founded until 2003 and didn't become a national thing until 2008. MySpace was around long before. Yeah, see, everything that he's texting me is shit that. Hold on. What the hell? All right, hold on, folks.
I mean, remember people were also upset like with the way Facebook was allowing you to share your personal stuff.
We're just going to bring Ed in because I have questions and he can certainly answer these questions better.
Yeah, I'll stop.
No, don't stop. But, come on the show because it would be much easier. You have information that I don't.
I know. If I were in my office, I would actually flip on the camera and just come into the show.
Okay.
But I am not right now. I'm out and I'm trying to get some stuff done. And I'm watching you on the one device and I'm texting you on the other. And there's a little bit of a delay because of that.
So do you have, okay, so bring us up. What is your take on the current state of MySpace? Because we were just discussing what it is sort of morphed into. Does that thing, I mean, may not in comparison to like, Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, but is MySpace still a viable thing for the people who run it?
No,
No,
it's a total loss leader. And every person who has bought it ended up selling it for less than they bought it for since 2005.
What happened with MySpace? What is your take on this?
It wasn't as cool as Facebook.
Well, but it was first, so
it was first, but that doesn't mean anything. Friendster was out there in the late 1990s. I mean,
right. But
Zuckerberg took. Did you ever actually see the movie The Social Network?
Yeah, of course.
Which is a highly compressed, series of events, but it hit all the high points. I mean, it did exactly what needed to be done. It creating the wall and the list, and how you can interact with your friends and say, "Hey, this." I mean, MySpace didn't do that.
I struggle to remember how MySpace worked. I remember it was now you compared it to Friendster and Frenzy and all the other little things that popped up in the early to mid aughts, but MySpace had the audience. It had the first big audience. I mean,
it did.
So when you say it wasn't as cool as Facebook, I mean, I understand that, but man, what a fumble at the goal line that was.
Absolutely.
Because when you start out with that audience, you've got a head start on everybody.
And they and also, they ran into, the .com, the bubble bursting. And so what MySpace really needed in the late 90s, very early 2000s was money. And that money was not there. So they couldn't innovate.
So how did I suggested that it was the algorithms that were finally put in place with Facebook, because we were talking about how, I don't know, around about 2007, 2008, the big thing was Facebook will never make money because nobody can make money off of it. And I always thought that was a very limited view by people who lacked imagination.
That was a very limited view. They just didn't have any vision.
Yeah. And these were all guys
they were always going to make money. The question was, how? Because, the core group, they just didn't want to start selling random ads because ads weren't cool.
Right.
And that's the honest to God truth. But what Facebook's bread and butter is targeted advertising.
Yeah, the algorithms, right?
Right. And that's where the whole data mining and the Cambridge Analytica bullshit with, overseas, that was all, Facebook trying to find itself. This data mining company said, "Hey, we'll help you expand your understanding of all this big data," and which they did. But they were also using it for their own ends. That they had, the 2016 election. But and Brexit. I mean, Brexit was probably the first thing that truly get hit by Facebook data mining. That's where they were able to run and target and push all that disinformation to shove it over the line.
All right. So, what is your take on the 60 Minutes piece last night? Since we've got an expert in this field,
Didn't see it.
What is your understanding of it, though? Because even without having to see it,
well, here's what happened. This woman was put in charge of the program to keep Facebook, the misinformation off Facebook.
Yeah, public integrity. She was put in charge of creating a public integrity team.
And they did. And what happened because of that is Facebook's ad revenue started dropping. Why did it start dropping? Because fewer people were clicking on, ads which help promote misinformation and things of that nature. And Facebook doesn't exist without engagement, without interactivity. People got to click on this and this and this, and that's why Facebook only feeds you things.
All right, so stop.
That it thinks you're going to want to click on.
All right, stop. So you just said something very important. Facebook doesn't exist without engagement. And
Correct.
I guess then you take it one step further and you ask yourself, well, how can we compel people to engage? And you do that by triggering. You do
Correct.
that, whether it's, calling your favorite football team the worst team in history. You've seen those ads.
Absolutely.
Like I remember one that said, why the 85 Chicago Bears were one of the worst teams in NFL. I'm like, well, everybody's going to click on that because everybody's been triggered now, because that is trolling became an art form. And that's how we started triggering people. So that's how you get the engagement. So if you're not triggering and if you're not trolling by trolling, misleading information or whatever that makes people compelled.
You ever seen ththose random posts with a graphic of the best the number one food item in a certain area? I mean, and it's always bullshit.
Right.
But it's designed to tick people off from that area so they're going to engage.
Right. So the public integrity officer was brought in to police mainly fake news concerning the 2020 election, but also theoretically those kinds of practices. Those kinds of, and Facebook, as a result of her doing her job effectively, went, hey, wait a second. Why do we now have a 3 to 5% drop over the last 6 weeks? And they decided,
and then they went and researched their own data and figured out why. It's because they were doing that.
Because she was doing what she was hired to do. And when she was hired to do it, I'm sure there was a press release about, Facebook patting themselves on the back about how they're taking all of this seriously, until the data returned that it was affecting their financial bottom line. And then they went,
from what I understand, when she took the job, she was very upfront saying, I'm only going to take this job if you're actually going to let me do it properly.
Yeah.
And then she did, and then they took that part away from her. And they tweaked the algorithm to get around, what she was doing. And, when you're being essentially maligned and attacked from within the own company, you're trying to, what are you going to do? I mean,
so here's one of the big bombshells that was released. One of the documents that she stole was a Facebook internal memo that said, here's what it says. We have evidence, this is from Facebook themselves. We have evidence from a variety of sources that hate speech, divisive political speech, and misinformation on Facebook and the family of apps are affecting societies around the world. They admitted that in internal documents and then went, oh, well.
Yep. Because if we shut it off, we make less money.
Ethnic violence, including Myanmar in 2018, was cited as one of the primary examples of Facebook's illicit use to launch an entire campaign of genocide against a group. Okay, so Facebook, she went in there and she found all this stuff, and then she kicked it up to the big boys at Facebook, and the big boys at Facebook looked at everything that she had found and go, okay, so I guess we are the reason for genocide in Myanmar and all of this. And then they went, well.
Then they went and looked at their bank balance and said, well, it is what it is.
So that, in a nutshell, is the scandal that's breaking around Facebook today.
Correct.
Now, I find it very interesting that, the day after this big thing blows up on 60 Minutes last night, that Facebook goes down. I mean,
this is a DNS hijack. I almost guarantee it.
I don't know what that is. See, explain that.
Well,
See, because that's hold on. Stop. Hold on. Hold on. Let me, just because people do not understand this language, or maybe they do, but I don't. So help me here. I immediately went, oh well, bunch of kids who were angry. They took down Facebook, and then my second thought was, well, maybe Facebook is making some wholesale changes to their product.
Yeah, right.
So tell me what a DNS hijack is.
DNS is the system that runs the internet. Every server, every item that is out there is attached to an IP address, a block of numbers.
Okay.
Well, you're not going to remember a block of numbers. You want a friendly sounding name, like Facebook or Twitter.
Okay.
What DNS is the system where you type in Facebook. That resolves. Oh, this guy wants to go to Facebook. He looks it up in his little address. Oh, it's this number, and that's how you get directed to that server. In a very plain spoken nutshell, that's how it works. There are levels of integrity and root servers and certificate servers that you don't need to know about. But at its base, that's how DNS works.
Okay, that's
and
DNS.
If somebody hijacks the DNS root server for Facebook and says, or just deletes the record or sends it somewhere else so nobody can get there, this is what you end up with.
Because it is odd that it would have gone down hours ago and still isn't up. That suggests that they don't know what it is, where it came from, or what's happening to them. Right.
So it is kind of surprising to me that it's taken this long to restore service.
Yeah, we're going on 3 hours. Three hours now. And Facebook has gone down for 10 minutes at a time, 15 minutes at a time.
Right. And those are data center issues, big routing block issues. That's not what this is.
Well, I think what we're going to hear is they're short on microchips.
It's all ball bearings. Everything ball bearings.
All shortages right now are attributed to microchips. So Facebook doesn't have the right microchips in order to put their server back up.
Ed, does that check out?
Sure.
No. Okay. There you go. Sure. It's all about ball bearings and microchips.
Oh, God.
Okay. So now my next question to you is that, and I gather from what you've just told us, that your suspicion is that this may be a public fight back reaction to what was revealed last night on 60 Minutes.
Yes. Yeah, it's not a denial of service attack, because you could tell when that's happening, which is when there are just so much traffic trying to get to the same place. The websites just crash. Facebook is almost, quite frankly, too big for that. Their infrastructure is spread out all over the world in dozens of data centers. I mean, you're not going to take Facebook down by a denial of service attack. Not anymore. This is something different. This is something stopping traffic from actually finding the data centers to begin with.
Let me ask you this. Is it possible for some big, really diligent-minded hacking group, could they have just erased everything? Or am I oversimplifying?
Well, that would be very difficult. It'd be very difficult to purge Facebook. Though I'm sure there are some groups who would love to do it.
Imagine if that's the case, though. Imagine if it's all gone. Look, I don't know how these things work.
They're backed up 9 ways to Sunday, so I mean,
I would think, yeah.
Yeah.
So your I guess diagnosis of this would be that this is an extremely uncomfortable and inconvenient thing, but Facebook will probably be back up and running shortly.
Yeah. At some point, probably in the next few hours, I would think they will come back. If this lasts any longer than that, that's really a bad sign for them.
So when would you say, like we're
Zuckerberg's probably having kittens? There's nothing that guy hates less than people not being able to get to the site.
Yeah. All right. So if it's 1 o'clock right now, Central Standard Time, when should they really be worried? 5 o'clock?
I would say, yeah. Oh, yeah. That would be like almost 8 hours.
Okay. Jesus.
That's
an entire.
Well, it's almost like a pride thing.
The amount of revenue that they are losing every hour. I mean, that's got to be yikes.
I guess this is why I'm just never going to be a billionaire, because
me too.
I look at this and if I'm Mark Zuckerberg, first of all, I haven't worked in 10 years. I haven't been to the office in 10 years. I just took that initial, $2 billion or whatever, and I'm just a nameplate. That's all. I don't actually care about what happens. I made my money and I got out. Right. You understand that sort of, right? Why would you want to stay and actually run this thing when
it's a behemoth, you just, when it's that big, it's tough to put it on the side.
And I'll say this: their stock isn't even down $20 today. It's down $19.42 right now. I mean, that's negligible.
What's Tom doing these days, Ed, to bring it back home to MySpace?
Back to MySpace. I have no idea what happened to MySpace, Tom.
Is Tom living with his parents, or did he probably get out with a?
I seriously doubt. I mean, Tom sold all that when the selling was still pretty decent for him.
So Tom's a millionaire.
It's everybody who bought it after Tom. They're the ones who,
All right. So Tom got to keep all the initial money that Tom made, and he's probably. Yeah.
But I'm sure it's not multi-billionaire money, because we're going back 20 years already. But still.
Hold on. I'm asking Google what happened to Tom from MySpace.
Tom from MySpace.
Hey, guess what? All you need to do is put "what happened to" in Tom from MySpace is the first one.
Probably a very popular search right now.
Well, because they're listening to you.
Let's see here. Okay, former first friend Tom is enjoying being retired. Yeah, I bet, man. Dude's like in his 40s. Former first friend Tom is enjoying being retired. Photo taking has been my hobby for 4. Oh, he now just takes pictures for the last 4 years.
Attaboy.
He's just out there. He travels the world.
I bet you he's not even worth 100 million, let alone a billion.
Okay.
Oh, well, poor guy.
Here's a question: is Tom from MySpace still rich? Let's see what Google says.
Oh, I 100 million in my book is rich, but it's not Zuckerberg rich.
No, of course not. But it's
he's not worried about where he's eating dinner. Let's put it that way.
I've got Tom Anderson's net worth right here in front of me. All right,
okay, less than 100 million.
Well, give me a number. So you think less than 100 million? So give me a number.
70. 70 million.
70 million. Tom from MySpace. Ed has gone less than 100 million.
I'd go more than 100.
What number you got?
150.
All right. What's the rule with the Price is Right? Is it you can't go over?
If you bid too high, you're out.
Closest without going over.
Closest without going over. Well, you both went over. Tom Anderson from MySpace is worth $60 million.
See, there it is. Yeah. Well under 100.
I don't care. I'm not laughing.
But hey, I would take in a heartbeat. I would take that 60 million.
Dude, you can live the life of your dreams for $60 million.
Damn right.
Of course you can.
The people from Squid Game only got 46 million American dollars. I mean, Tom's doing better, and he didn't have to kill anybody during a game of red light, green light.
Did they really kill anybody? I mean,
all right, we'll get into that. Yeah, we're going to talk about Squid Game right here at the end of the show. All right, thank you, Ed. So again,
all right, guys,
we'll be watching Facebook to see if at 5 o'clock
when it comes back.
Yeah. All right. Isn't that interesting, though? The big 60 Minutes still has a big stick, apparently, that it wields, because after last night's, I happen to agree with that. It's way too coincidental that they could have a massive outage like this hours after a big 60 Minutes takedown piece.
Well, and then people are saying that, and if you're Zuckerberg, you're like at home and you're like, okay, this is getting embarrassing, guys. Wherever my IT department is or whoever's in charge of that, y'all need to get that crap up now.
Yeah.
Oh, that there's got to be fires burning under people's, hats and butts. Just because, don't you think it's embarrassing? Like, Facebook is down?
If I was wired, is it embarrassing? It's inconvenient for us because that's where the bulk of our live listeners come from. So this show today is being inconvenienced, but embarrassing. To say, is it embarrassing? I would have to put myself in the place of Zuckerberg. And honestly, if I put myself in the place of Zuckerberg, I haven't been in the Facebook offices in 5 years. I don't. So I don't know. He's a madman. So yeah, you're probably right. It is embarrassing. It's probably because he's got himself so wrapped up in this.
Or it's a social media ploy. If they go down, they're going to be trending number one. The longer they stay down, the more people like you and I are going, what's going on? How come it's not back up? And so it almost is like a self-fulfilling, push our product because people are going to be talking about it today.
Dude, look at these trends, okay? This is what's trending right now as we speak. Why is this all you're talking about? These are the top trends in America. 1, Facebook. 2, Instagram. 3, Facebook, Instagram. 4, 60 Minutes. 5, Zuckerberg. Those are the top 5 things that everybody in this country are talking about at this moment. This
Well,
is a
because
big deal.
everybody, well, not everybody, but most people are being affected. I mean, you check your Facebook once a day. Imagine what the influencers are doing.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, hey,
Oh.
how can I be influencing people today? I've got the day off.
Hey, technically that's us. Technically that's us, creators who use the platforms
Well,
to spread their creation.
you almost didn't want to do a show because Facebook wasn't up.
I didn't. And then Ed made me feel dumb and short-sighted about that. And I went, yeah, you're right. It is. It's about the afterwatch. It's about people being able to watch this, not necessarily live, but whenever they want. And we really haven't built up YouTube because Facebook has been where the bulk of the people that we're calling from. That's why we say you got to share, people. You got to share this stuff on Facebook. Please help us out with that. We need to grow the Facebook numbers, and then we need to try and migrate and bring people over to YouTube.
Yeah,
But
let's do a big Facebook, Instagram share moment right now while it's broken.
Yeah, right? Yeah. All right, so you want to know what's trending at number 6? Here we go. We talked about all the Facebook stuff. That's the big story of the day. Trending at number 6 today is, and how does this happen? How does this happen? Today is National Taco Day. Tomorrow is Tuesday. How is National Taco Day not on a Tuesday?
Where is the calendar for this stuff? Like, it seems like I wake up every day
Right.
and it feels like they're making it up as they go along.
100%. 100%. I do not remember celebrating National Taco Day back in 1985. I do not remember that. That hasn't been a thing. As a matter of fact, until this very moment, I have never celebrated National Taco Day until today. Today being reminded that it is National Taco Day.
Yeah,
Look, it's
but
James
having
Turner's
Taco
day.
Day on a Monday is just not right. It's Tuesday is Taco Day.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey,
you
James,
can't say that. Don't say those 2 words back to back.
what's that?
The day of the week and taco.
Why? Taco Tuesday.
Yeah. So there's a Taco John's or something in Ohio. Was the first to use, or was the first to trademark that. I'm sure they weren't the first to use it.
No, really?
And so they make more money enforcing their trademark than they do actually selling tacos now.
So it's the old Super Bowl play. Where you can't actually say Super Bowl in the promotion of a product that is occurring during the Super Bowl without having to pay the NFL a licensing fee. That's why whenever you hear ads on the radio, I mean, we know this, James, right? Because of radio, but whenever you would cut a spot for a Super Bowl party,
you have to say the big game.
Hey, what are you doing for the big game? Come out and join us this Sunday. It's going to be super. We're going to watch the big football game this Sunday at the Super. You couldn't say Super Bowl. So it was all very clunky and weird because no radio station wanted to pay the NFL to be able to say, or certainly Budweiser, because, it's like, but hey, join us. Bud Light is going to have us out there. Why isn't Bud Light paying for the Super Bowl? You know what I mean? Doesn't it seem like there should be some kind of a partnership involved? Like they would have worked that out so that we all don't have to look like cheap rats calling it the big game.
Well, if you want to put a poster up in your bar advertising for the NFL, you have to pay a license fee.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you do. Yeah.
It's called a $10,000 poster in the French Quarter. I don't know what it is everywhere else, but
$10,000 poster. Yeah. Screw that.
Now you can play the games in your bar, but you can't advertise that you're playing the games in the bar. You can't have that be the primary draw to bring people into the bar.
That is very interesting. So, James, you just dropped a little bit of a truth bomb on us regarding National Taco Day. I was complaining that this is a serious miscalculation on the part of Big Taco, because
how could it be on Tuesday?
Well, how could it not be on Tuesday? How could it be on Monday? But maybe with the added information that you've just provided us here, this was all by design.
Well, and notice there's no chains. There's no Taco Bell or Taco Bueno or El Chico or Papacitos or anything like that has a Taco Tuesday. And the reason is these other people trademarked it and they would have to pay a fee.
I never, ever thought about that. You're absolutely right. Why wouldn't Taco Bell have a big Taco Tuesday promo? It's because of this dude in Ohio.
Yeah, and it happens in other industries as well. There's the hand grenade drink that you can get down here in the French Quarter.
Yeah.
Well, the Tropical Isle, the owners of that, they trademarked that, and so they have caught people. And like there was a bar in Aspen that kind of had a copy of the hand grenade. They will go sue them, and they'll say, "All right, you can either we can take this to court where I'm going to win anyway, or we can settle out of court for 15 grand right now."
I'll take the money and I'll walk away, and you can serve your little hand grenade and knock. Yeah, man, there are so many ways of making money this is why I'm friends with E. E, you're supposed to be thinking of these things. These are supposed to be your money-making ideas. You're the guy that's supposed to be the one that has all the plans. I'm just...
I don't know. Taco Tuesday or Tuesday Taco is how we got to say it now, right? We can't even say Taco Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. Can you deviate from Taco Tuesday and call it Tuesday Taco Day?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, very good. James, you're joining us a little bit late today, and I appreciate you coming by anytime you do stop by. But we'd spent a significant portion of the opening of the show talking about the big Facebook situation. You got any hot takes on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp? Being as Ed was on the air with us, Ed suggested that this seemed like or to him, it appears to be a malicious DNS hijacking by somebody taking down Facebook because it's been hours and hours now. And if it was
Facebook is down.
Okay. It's showing up. It's only the biggest story trending everywhere.
I was working all morning.
Facebook is trending. Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp have been down now for hours upon hours, which is why, we do this show. We stream it primarily for the Facebook audience. That's where the bulk of our initial audience is. But today it's just going on the YouTube. The Facebook people will have to see it later if they can. Now, the interesting thing that we were discussing is that, this takedown, this collapse of Facebook occurred just hours after 60 Minutes did their big Facebook is the devil story last night, which was trending all last night. So Ed, who is our computer guy, boy, is that sort of a reductive way to classify
That's
Ed.
all he is. Yeah, that's it.
Ed is not just a computer guy. He is a scientist who has been working in this field for years and years and is, a very innovative mind and all that good stuff. But he was suggesting that this ain't a coincidence, that this is the fact that Facebook has been down for hours upon hours at this point says that this is an outside attack and they're not sure what the hell is going on. Because if they were, then they have, all of these sort of backups that they could have just flipped the switch and they'd have been back up after maybe a 15, 20-minute interruption.
Yeah, they might have voluntarily just deplatformed themselves after they saw all the filth that goes through my instant messages. Yeah.
I can only imagine the people you're friends with. I can only imagine the atrocity that is your Facebook timeline.
Atrocity is probably a good word for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know they wouldn't do this themselves.
Right.
If they were down for maintenance, or if they had a boo-boo and Jethro accidentally kicked the plug out the mainframe, a technical issue, they would probably have it up. How long has it been out?
It's been out since 10:40 Central Time. So 10:40 this morning Central Time. Let me go back to Facebook.
I'm still blaming it on the shortage of microchips.
Yeah, he's coming down. He's blaming big microchip. And
okay, so you tell me what was the story yesterday that had him in trouble?
Well, actually, it's funny. Put on CNN right now because that's what they're talking about. A woman. Well, here you showed up late and we already covered it, but that's okay. That's okay. A woman was hired away from Google. Her name is Frances Haugen. Is that what we're going to? Yeah. Frances Haugen was hired away from Google to head up last year's Facebook integrity department. Heading into the 2020 election, she was asked, Facebook was taking a lot of crap for fake news, misinformation and all that kind of stuff. So they made a real effort to fix that. Made a big show of hiring away this big gun from Google. Brought her in and said, you're in charge of our public integrity team. You're going to change the way we do things, and we're going to get rid of all of the troubling aspects of Facebook. Well, she did it. She did all of what she was supposed to do, and there was all of this research, and all the research and all of her findings were kicked up to the boardroom there at Facebook, and the Facebook people looked at it and went, and it's really damning stuff. Now, the deal was why she's got such a big story is because she took all the memos and all the research when she left. She walked out in March of last year after that. I don't know if they fired her or what. I think she left on her own, but she walked out because they had refused to do any, like, for instance, she found proof that they were responsible for things like the Myanmar coup, that Facebook was the primary means of pushing the disinformation. Here, I'll just give you one quick little piece here. We already covered it. Frances Haugen, at one point in 2021, I realized, okay, I'm going to have to do this in a systematic way, and I have to get out enough that no one can question that it's real. She secretly copied tens of thousands of pages of Facebook internal research. She says evidence shows that the company is lying to the public about making significant progress against hate, violence, and misinformation. One study she found from this year says, we estimate that we may action as little as 3 to 5% of hate and about 0.6% of 1% of violence and incitement on Facebook, despite being the best at it in the world. All right, so she's got all these documents that are really damning, and all of the documents have been kicked up to the people at Facebook, and they just kind of went, yeah, we're not going to do anything about that. That's going to screw up the algorithm. That's going to screw up the advertising. And as Ed was pointing out, Facebook needs to trigger people. They need people doing these kinds of things because that's what creates engagement. He brought up the whole thing, like you'll see these memes on Facebook that says the favorite food in each state. And then it's like Louisiana and it's like a hot dog. Well, that triggers everybody in Louisiana to go, that's not our favorite food. And what happens? That's engagement. And then suddenly they're getting pop-up ads for whatever their favorite food. So Facebook realized that these sort of unethical ways, they're not down with the spreading of misinformation, but any port in a storm. I mean, that's the way they were able to create the engagement. And when this was pointed out to the big people at Facebook, they just kind of went, and just kept doing whatever they were doing, which is in defiance of their public statement of, we are committed to cleaning up the misinformation and half-truths that occupy our platform. So she was on 60 Minutes last night. She showed all the documents, and then within hours, some outside attack group took down Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And that's where we are right now.
All right. If those are connected, that's pretty cool.
Right. Well, we don't know that they're connected, but it looks... right? I mean,
the timing is amazing if they're not connected.
Facebook was already trending all last night. As a matter of fact, if we didn't cut the show short, we were going to talk about the 60 Minutes interview last night. I had clips and all of that good stuff, but we cut the show short because suddenly my camera went out and, that was an issue. All right. So now you're brought up to speed on that. That's the big story. Who's it? Somebody in our yardie? Because I hear CeeLo going a little nuts.
Yeah, I hear her going a little nuts earlier too, but I think she's fine.
Okay, what else is trending today? Well, should we get into the Urban Meyer stuff? Have you guys been following the Urban Meyer story?
He keeps losing. Is there something beyond that?
Oh my God! You want to impress upon James why Urban Meyer is trending this weekend?
Well, he's got a video that he's going to need to do some explaining to his wife about.
Oh no, what did he do?
Well, Urban Meyer was captured in a bar that he owns over the weekend. Apparently, after the Jacksonville Jaguars lost to the Cincinnati Bengals, Urban Meyer stayed behind. And here's where this is Urban Meyer as such. Okay.
Does he have any friends left, this guy?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Tim Tebow, that's about it.
He doesn't even.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he cut
him.
I know, but he brought him in the first place. What a gift that just to give him any attention. Apparently, he couldn't block anything. So.
He brought him in for a little positive attention and then cut him. So I don't know. I don't even know if Tim Tebow. But all right. So my theory, just from the jump, is that any successful.
Wait, what's he doing with the chick? Is he kissing her?
Well, yeah, I'm building up. We're telling a story here, James. Come on. This is. I think that all football coaches are pieces of shit. Now, I'm not talking about the guys that work with our kids, although jury's still out on that. That's a case-by-case basis. But big-time successful football coaches, I have always thought, are just narcissists, disgustingly arrogant. But that's the whole thing. You're a skinny guy in his 50s, and you got to yell at 300-pound black kids all day. So there's got to be some sort of heightened, I'm a bad, you got to hype yourself into whatever it is. Urban Meyer has always struck me as an incredibly disingenuous phony. Good football coach. This is not about his ability to coach college football, because I think that ship has sailed. We know that he's a tremendous football coach. I'm talking about as a guy. Now, do you remember when he came back to football? Do you guys remember?
Don't you think that's a little harsh? All football coaches? Come on.
Well, yes, of course. Of course, not all. Of course,
there's going to be some exceptions to the rule, but the rule is they're jerks.
So you'd say the majority.
I would say the vast majority of successful football coaches are not people that you'd want to be stuck in an elevator with, or in the backseat on a long car ride with. They just seemed Now, the exception to that is this is one for E here. I've said that I have met Marv Levy a number of times. That is one of the nicest dudes that you could ever want to meet. That guy was courteous and kind. But I've also met Mike Ditka. Mike Ditka is an asshole. Mike Ditka is exactly what you would think Mike Ditka would be. He's an asshole. And, you can go up and down the list. Mike McCarthy is supposed to be an asshole. Now,
so the majority of ESPN sets where they have the coaches and the players, you would say more often than not, the guys on that set are jackasses.
Yes. More. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Absolutely. All right. So remember now, Urban Meyer stayed behind in Ohio after the Jacksonville Jaguars had lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. And why was he staying behind in Ohio? Spend a little time with the grandkids. He was going to have a sleep a little weekend, and he doesn't spend enough time with the grandkids. Well, let me tell you, if that's the case, Urban Meyer's granddaughter is a smoke show because I don't know if this is the kind of time you want to be spending. So while he is out there, and by the way, he came out this morning and he addressed it. And there's also some very bizarre stuff going on.
I can't wait to hear what he said, because I've been thinking all weekend, like, what could I come up with if I was Urban Meyer to explain this?
Well, here's the problem. While he was out doing this, his wife was actually home with the grandkids, like taking care of the grandkids. And apparently she tweeted out a picture while Urban is doing what Urban is doing. She tweeted out a picture at almost the same time of her giving little babies a bath, saying it's grandma time, and she's bathing these little kids in a bathtub. And then you cut to, you cut to this. Let's see what Urban Meyer was doing while his wife was, here we go. All right, Urban, give it to me, guy. There he is in a bar he owns in Ohio while his wife was bathing the grandkids, and he was supposedly staying behind to hang out with the grandkids. Oh, Urban. Look at that. All right, now. Okay. All right, we all see that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Where are his hands? This is all very important. I'm going to ask you questions because now we're going to play his excuse that he gave at the press conference today. Where are his hands right now? What's going on here? Does this look like a guy who is being humiliated and goaded to come out onto the dance floor? Or does this look like a guy who's just, hanging out watching a ball game, letting some blonde 20-year-old rub on his dick? What is going on here?
It looks like he's being an absolute cavalier gentleman and assisting from a girl who almost fell down. She was having a hard time catching her footing, so she was kind of, I don't know, maybe she has some balance issues, but I think he saved her from embarrassing herself publicly. And that's
let's
very
see.
noble thing he's doing here.
James, hold on. This is only a 5-second clip, so let me see if that's how it looks. Oh, she's falling. Yeah, absolutely.
Almost fell.
Slippery. Coach, E, what do you see going on here?
I see whatever he's doing, he needs to come up with an explanation because if his wife sees that, toast.
Well, I guess his wife did see it. Let's see here. So let's see how Urban Meyer explains that situation. This is okay here.
I've been thinking since I saw that on Saturday what his explanation would be. So I can't wait to hear it.
Here, we gotta be quiet though, because it's one of these press conferences where they don't have the questions mic'd. So you hear a guy in the background and it's only a question like this. And then the coach is really loud. You know how that happens in press conferences where you barely hear the question. So let's see. I guess I got to pull this one up. I almost forgot. So Urban Meyer gave his Monday morning Jacksonville Jaguar media requirement, I guess. No, that's not it. Okay, here we go. All right. And lo and behold, one of the questions was why he was trending all weekend. So here's Urban. And listen, because the sound isn't great, but here, listen.
Urban, can you explain the viral video place over the weekend?
Yeah, I just apologize.
So the question is, Urban, can you explain the viral video from your place over the weekend?
To the team and the staff and for being a distraction is stupid. So I explained everything that happened and owned it. And, just stupid. Should not have myself in that kind of position.
Urban, did you fly back with the team or did you stay in?
I stayed to see the grandkids and we all that night at the restaurant.
All right, can you guys hear that at all? Because I mean, he's certainly humbled,
No.
and he's like, you can't really hear it at all, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so basically, what he said was the question was, Urban, can you explain the viral video that was going around? And he said, yeah, it was stupid. I was just explaining it to the team. It's just really stupid. That's all I could say about it. And then the next question was, why did you stay behind in Ohio? And he goes, "Yeah, hang out with the grandkids." Like he's still gonna go with that, even though we know that he wasn't hanging out with the grandkids. All right, let's continue. Let's see more. I'll try and translate Urban here.
Next to a restaurant. And they wanted me to come over and take pictures, and I did. Tried to pull me out on a dance floor.
Okay, so what he's saying there is he is saying, yeah, I had to go and spend some time at my bar and restaurant, and everybody's taking pictures of me, and then a bunch of people were trying to pull me out on the dance floor, and I didn't want to go. And so he's saying that video is him being lured onto the dance floor, and he doesn't want to be there. He's only there for business reasons. He would much rather be with his grandkids, but because it's his restaurant, he was in town. He had to stop by. Let's continue just a little bit more. And I do apologize for the bad sound, but Urban doesn't really want to make this loud and proud.
How did the team react?
How did the team react?
Reactionary, how did they take it? Your apology?
Well, I've always been so defensive of them. I remember when Trevor told me he could go to Vegas for his bachelor party. And I was just like, gosh, man, be careful.
Okay, so the question was, how did the team react when he told them? And he said, well, he didn't answer that question. What he said was, well, I've always been so defensive of them and about their private life, and I just tell them that whatever they do, just to be careful. So he's not saying, how do you think the Jacksonville Jaguars in the locker room treated him about this? I'm sure they were a bunch of shrieking violets, right? How dare you, coach? Oh my goodness.
I don't think they were at all. I think like, hey man, coach, it's up to you're good. You're good with us. We don't care.
He probably walked in Monday morning and received a crazed ovation from the. They're probably.
Now I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah,
I don't think he got a crazed ovation. But
James, what do you think the reaction from the Jaguars were when their coach was trending with a hot 20-year-old all weekend?
Coach, she's hot.
Right.
Yeah.
Coach, that's player hot. That's not coach hot. That's player hot. What do you? All right, so let's keep
done
going.
with her. Duh.
Let's watch more of this.
Surround yourself, and I've seen this happen.
He's seen it happen before. It's dumb.
So the team, I spoke to a bunch of leaders one-on-one, spoke to all the players. They're good.
He's going to talk to the players one-on-one, that kind of thing.
Apologized again for being a distraction.
He apologized for being a distraction.
Coach should not be a distraction.
A coach should not be a distraction. Okay. There you
See,
go.
what I think
Yeah.
happened, he went to his players that are married that have had similar scenarios, and he ran by a list of possible explanations and said, "Hey guys, what do you think about this one? What do you think about that one, Brian? I'm in,
Right. All right, guys.
I,
Come on. College of coaches here. Let's
I'm
figure
in
this
hot
one out.
water here. What do you think is going to fly?" And he came up with, I got to hand it to him, what I thought could possibly be the only answer. Yeah, I'm famous guy. She came and wanted to have her picture taken. She was trying to drag me onto the dance floor. Of course, I'm not going to be like, hey, push her off of me. I wasn't really doing anything. I was kind of sitting there minding my own business. And, I mean, he does have that going for him. He isn't like he was fondling her. His hands are
I think that he
his
was
hands are in a
fondling her.
questionable place, but
His hands are
like,
on her ass. She is rubbing.
no, they're not on his ass. Like his hands are like
Let's
kind
watch
of
again.
down like that.
Okay. All right. I
But
think he's.
given the scenario, that's not a bad explanation.
Oh my God, you are such a sap. That is a garbage explanation.
It's
That is not an
garbage, but you
explanation
got to
at all.
make, lemonade out of lemons. I mean,
Well.
what's the best you can come up with there? That's about the best you can come up with.
Well, it is the best you can come up with when you're a bullshit artist. And that, as I said before we got into that, is one of my problems with people like Urban Meyer. They have been bullshit artists their entire career, and just people are willing to believe it. He doesn't seem like someone who has very much integrity. Never has. This is the guy that walks away from Florida, goes to Ohio State, and then decides to walk away from Ohio State because suddenly they get a new AD and he doesn't like him. So he claims he's got a health problem, and then he just steps aside waiting for the next big deal. And then the next big deal comes around 2 years later, and it's his jump to the NFL, which is what he's always wanted to do because he is an insane egomaniac.
Well, I'm not defending him. I mean, I saw the video and I thought, my God, what is he going to come up with? And that's about the best you can come up with.
Let's watch one more time. Let's just see this again. Let's watch his body language.
Can you explain the viral video from your place over the weekend?
Yeah, I just apologize to the team and the staff and for being a distraction. It was stupid. So I explained everything that happened.
I mean, he really, look at the body language though. This, I will give him credit for having the proper body. This is a man that's humbled. This is a humbling sort of body language. He's not being defiant. He's not being aggressive. He's taking his beating. He knew it was coming. He's got his hands in his pockets. He's got the very Charlie Brown kind of womp womp kind of thing going on. Should not have myself in that kind of a position.
Did you fly back the team, or did you stay in?
I stayed to see the grandkids, and we all went to dinner that night at the restaurant, and next to a restaurant.
All right, you know what? That one I'm not nearly as interested in that one as I want to see the girl in him again. That's the one. That's the one that I care about. This is the one that I like. Here we go. Let's just kill the sound. Let's kill the sound and let's just Zapruder tape this.
All right. So I got some questions here.
Go ahead, James.
First off, is this an affair he's having, or is this some random girl at the bar who decided to cozy up to him a little bit? Now,
I don't think we know that. I don't think. Maybe.
I think we do know that, given his reaction. If this was some girl, a stranger, or maybe a friend of a friend, or just someone he knew casually, he wouldn't look that defeated because he didn't get busted doing anything. It just some girl was rubbing on him. Yeah, it's inappropriate. She was just a friend of a friend and whatever. I don't even know her, or I just met her last night. It's not like we went home and had sex or anything. But
no, you push her away. You put if he is truly the man of integrity, the man of God that he walks around pretending that he is.
Well,
you push this girl away and you show right. Okay, so we know that
nothing. But cheating on your wife is something. Cheating on your wife. Not only do you not want your wife to know, you don't want your kids to know. You don't want your grandkids to know. You don't want the whole freaking world to know, and you don't want that to be the topic of conversation when you just started 0-3 or 0-4, whatever the hell they're pulling off over there. And so the fact that he acts so defeated lets me know that this is actually an affair. So then you
Oh,
got to start thinking, is this just something he was picking up while he was in town? But he's from Ohio, and then he coached at Ohio State until what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I don't know. I don't know
yeah.
the timeline on that. So is this
Now, Ryan Day has been there, I think, 3 years now. So yeah.
so is this someone he had met and has been having an affair with since he's been the head coach at Ohio State?
Well, I don't know. Was she 17 at the time? Because this girl looks 20 years old.
We
I mean,
don't know. We don't know. Dude,
uh,
I know 41-year-old divorcees who would look like that from this angle.
yeah, you're absolutely right. We don't have. We're assuming because it's a college town, Columbus, Ohio, that she's probably some young chippy, but she very easily could be 30.
But she
So
could be
Those are
like
some pretty
32.
elaborate bar lights. Those are like
yeah,
little
right.
chandeliers.
Doesn't it look like a banquet hall? Like those are chandeliers you'd find in a banquet hall when you go to your, end of season football dinner.
Yeah, they didn't do that on purpose. They had just leased an old steakhouse and didn't feel like changing them out. That's my guess. Or maybe it is a steakhouse. Hell, I don't know.
All right, so here's how we'll keep watching this because I'm telling you, I want you to defend the hand placement again because it looks like he is working the taint. It looks like he has got his hands
Wow.
down there and he is sort of massaging. He's moving with her. There is a sexual rhythm going on.
Or
Go ahead.
he's guarding because he doesn't want to get a stiffy. Like he's kind of protecting himself so she's not rubbing on him.
Okay. All right. See, this is what open-minded look like. Okay.
I'll buy that. Yeah, sure.
I hadn't considered that. I still think his fingers are pointed out and they're between her legs. That's what I think he's doing. But plausible deniability being what it is, you just offered up a pretty nice defense because I think that defense could fly.
Well,
Certainly with-
I mean, she looks like she's trying to grind and his hand is in the way, kind of protecting his own personal junk.
Wow, you know what? You might be right. Okay, so I'm going to accept that. We're going to go with
From
that.
this angle. Now,
Yeah.
if there's another video that's out and it gives a different shot, which I've seen in the chat room, there appears to be another one that I might say,
go find it.
Yeah.
Say that I'm guilty.
Hold on. You say there's another shot? If there's another shot, it has to be in the urban. Go ahead, you guys talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna go look for something here, okay? Hold on.
Yeah, so he wouldn't be acting all forlorn if he had just got caught and it wasn't an affair. So now the question is, how long has this been going on? Has this been like, does he actually have a relationship with this girl, or she could be a paid participant in the weekend's festivities? That's another reason.
Now you're calling her a lady for hire?
No, I'm not saying it's probable, but it is possible that would
And
shame
that
him
makes
so much.
zero sense. Like, why would you hire a hooker to your own bar in front of people in public?
Dude, urban don't.
No, it's not probable, but possible. I'm just
hookers
giving
are quiet. The first thing you think of is like, well, why would Urban Meyer need to hire a hooker? Because hookers are private. That's why. That's why a lot of rich dudes, big high-profile dudes, they prefer hookers because hookers
go away. They go away when you're done. Yeah,
and they're doing something illegal, and they don't necessarily want to be outed themselves. So, yeah. Urban Meyer apologizes. Okay, go ahead.
The problem is he doesn't have like a grouping of people around him. Like you would think if he's Urban Meyer and he's out at the bar, there's going to be more than just her who's got him pinned up against the bar.
You mean like an entourage?
Yeah, or just some dudes that he'd be hanging out with, like not hanging out with a bunch of chicks. And I don't really see any guys that are coming to his aid.
No, they look like any number of sexually active couples you might see at a club, right? That does not, they look like boyfriend and girlfriend. That's how a girlfriend that wants to go home and screw would behave while you're at the bar. It does not look like he's being forced into that position. It doesn't. Again, I say this. I don't know how long this went on. I don't know how many minutes it was going on before. I don't know how many minutes it was going on after. We're only looking at a 5-second clip here. But the only excuse for him to be completely absolved of any of these judgments that we're making is if in the 6th second, because this is 5 seconds, if in the 6th second he is seen pushing her away, showing his wedding band, and then saying that's the only way. I mean, that is the way a Christian committed man of God is supposed to behave in these situations. Now, I can pull up the Barstool story that has the tweet at the same time of his wife bathing the grandkids with
Well,
the
but he could have more than those I mean, he could legitimately have grandkids there and grandkids, you know, if he's got more than one daughter.
You think he's doing this in front of his grandkids?
Well, I don't know why. I mean, he looks like he's been beaten to a pulp in the press conference. Like prior to getting there, I'm sure him and his wife have gotten into it over this video, and why he's then going to roll into the press conference and continue the BS about the grandkids. I mean, the wife knows if there's grandkids there or not. I mean, she can't say, Urban, I had grandkids here with me. There, there's no, I mean, because you're using that as a diversion to tell your wife as to why you're staying there.
Oh boy, I found another video.
Good.
Before I show this video, do you still want to say that he was protecting his dick?
No, I'm just saying with that particular video, that would be a good defense until another video comes out. Then you're gonna change the story. But that was, the best you could do. Given that, if I was on his team, I'd say, okay, you were protecting your junk because she's obviously trying to rub on it.
And maybe Urban Meyer's body posture and his, you're right. He was very humbled. He was maybe he knew that there could be other video out there and that one wasn't necessarily the worst one. So
well, that's the other thing. At his level in Ohio,
stupid.
How are you, like he said, he obviously went to the Ohio State game, right?
Yeah, I don't know, but
I'm assuming
he knows who he is on the campus of Ohio State University,
right?
And he knows that everyone's got a phone and the ability to document and videotape for posterity every move he makes.
So to me, I just would think, my gosh, dude, like you just had like a bad mental lapse in judgment for a little bit there.
We're all having fun with this, but again, like I've said a couple of times when this subject has come out, maybe he and his wife have an understanding. And if that's the case, then cool, man. Good on Urban.
Yeah, but this would go against your code on understanding. You wouldn't want it to be made public like this because then it would become embarrassing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is definitely a big problem. But as far as saying that he has, overtly just desecrated his marriage vows, we don't know that. But it is problematic based on my code that it can't go public. And I would have to imagine that would be part of their understanding as well.
And Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, I mean, they have an entanglement. That's the way that was explained. So we have the other video. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see what Don Bellows has going on. So here's more video. Okay. All right, so here now is a different angle. This seems to be, I don't know what this is. I guess there's a couple other videos, but this is the first one that I found. He's tickling. That's where, see, I think that's where his hands are when she's grinding on him. Do we see where his hands are right there?
Yeah. Yep.
And what's with the white belt and white shoes after Labor Day? Like, I thought you weren't allowed to wear white after Labor Day.
Right? Even more egregious is the white shoes, right?
All right, let's let this whole 7 seconds play out here because this is just the first second. Let's see what else happens. This is all I saw, and then I said, "Oh, I found something else." Here we go. Diddling the taint. That's what I thought he was. Okay, now this guy's gonna move in the way. Oh, apparently it is only just the one single taint diddling. But a taint diddle like that, folks.
Can you read that text?
No. Here, let me. Yeah.
Someone really got a video of Urban sticking his fingers up my ass.
Someone really got a video of Urban sticking his fingers up my ass.
So this is from the girl's first person point of view. She said my.
No, right. Yes, the video is the video she is speaking of in the.
So she found it and then she shared it out, and that looks like a Snapchat cover. And see where it says send us? Does it say send us chat at the bottom?
Okay, so now we know that it's not a long-standing girlfriend, right? It's a girl who ran into Urban and he got flirty with her and she started reciprocating to some degree. Maybe had a little fun. We don't know that it went any further. Probably didn't if she is, putting these kinds of things out there. It probably didn't go much further.
Maybe she's a center on the senior football or on her female football team, and he's getting her ready to take the snap. He's like, "Hey, this is where the quarterback puts his hands, and when I go hike, you bend over and like give me a snap."
Hey, James, good catch, because I didn't even bother reading that. I was just more dazzled by the finger play.
Okay, but here's what we can already tell from that is that someone else took the video and they sent it to her, and then she just shared it with, who is that, Ace on Snapchat?
No, it says ass ticklers 1 hour ago from
Cayman, Nebraska, from Cayman and Shell. I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea what that
So
says.
she sent that in a snap to someone else. Now you can't download easily from Snap. You would have to like record your screen and then go open it and whatever. So the way that this person got it off of Snapchat is they got a second device and just recorded them playing it. So this wasn't intended to be public. So she was trying to keep it behind wraps by using Snapchat, but then this guy two-deviced it out.
But again, I would say if she was in a long-standing or at least relationship of any kind with him, she probably wouldn't be. Someone actually got a picture of Urban putting his fingers on my. Probably wouldn't do that. That seems like a bit of a humble brag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God, I'm so offended by this, but it's Urban Meyer. Like, look who I'm hanging out with. Look at the jet set life that I live.
Yeah, I think she would have used his last name if she wasn't casual.
Wouldn't have used his last name.
No, she would have if she wasn't casual. If she's casual and she just says Urban, like that to me sounds like they've got something more going on.
Yeah, you're right. Now that you point that out, yeah, you're right. Because if it really was just a one-time meeting with this guy who's a celebrity that she ran into and had this thing with, this interaction with, then it would be
Urban
I can't believe
Meyer.
someone got a fight. Yeah, but somebody got a video of Urban sticking. It sounds like they know each other. They're on a first name basis,
or at least to people that she's talking to, she's relating that she's on a first name basis with him.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the really ridiculous things about Urban Meyer is do you remember when he decided to come back into football? He had supposedly suffered. Here, should we get rid of that, or we just want to keep watching? Okay, we're back. He walked out of the contract at Ohio State University because of health issues and a desire to spend more time with his family. The normal thing. The truth is, or at least has been reported, that he was an insufferable ass and they got a new athletic director. And the new athletic director was not someone that really wanted to deal with Urban Meyer, or Urban Meyer didn't want to deal with him, whatever the case may be. But he used the health issues and the family, the desire to be closer to the family, as the excuse to walk away. But when he decided to come back into coaching, I want to see if we can pull this up. There was a story. It was a big story in the sports world where he created a contract with his family. Do you remember do you remember the story about Urban Meyer's contract with his family?
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah. Let's see here.
I bet you there's a few addendums this weekend that his wife's adding.
I'm trying to see. Urban felt like a lone wolf for a long time because so many people he thought needed help from him, and his mental health was weak. Now, however, he not only scared a mental illness away, but he thinks that sometimes even the term illness distorts what the thing actually is, a gift. The compulsive, obsessed, high-end achieving people, those are the... All right, I just want to read the friggin...
No, right? It's like when you're at the bar and they're doing that cocktail thing where they start spinning the bottles. It's like, dude, just make my drink.
Within a year of the second retirement, however, approximately 4 years and 8 months ago, the Ohio State job came open and Urban wanted it. He had a long meeting with his family, who said that before he signed his contract with the Buckeye, they wanted him to sign one with them. So his family basically said, okay, if you're going to go back into coaching, you can't be an asshole anymore. And these are the requirements that we, as your daughters and your wife, want from you to pledge to us. Shelly, daughters Nikki and Gigi, and son Nate all had their terms, such as, my family will always come first. I will take care of myself and maintain good health, mental and physical. I will not go more than 9 hours a day at the office. I will trust God's plan and not be over anxious. I will eat 3 meals a day. Nikki wrote it up on a now famous page of pink notebook paper, and then Urban signed it. And then there's a picture here of, but that's not the full. I want to see the full thing. Like, was there a secret contract between the wife? Was Urban known to be a a guy that
he's got there's some added addendums this week, and
yes, yeah. Here, let me pull something. Let me show you. Boop 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 boop. All right, here. I can't find it. There it is. All right. Let's here, we'll just share this one. By the way, did you know his nickname was the Dublin Dad?
Who the hell calls him that?
Apparently everybody in college football, because this article that broke the story keeps referring to him as the Dublin Dad. I guess he's from Dublin, Ohio.
First I've heard of it.
The fact Urban Meyer. Hold on. All right. Yeah, first I've heard of it too, but then again, I hate Urban Meyer, so it's not like I would be reading anything that.
Why do you hate this guy so much? Because
Ohio
State beats Notre Dame or something?
No, they never play. No, I just don't like Urban Meyer. I don't like his type. All right, All right, that picture has been taken down. A lot of the stuff that was in the. Oh, there it is. Okay, there's. Meanwhile, I'm babysitting. This is what Grandma is doing. This is what Urban's wife is doing. While Urban's out, this must be the bar. Yeah, taking. Look at this girl. Look at that, huh? That's a Kathy Ireland clone, huh? Huh? That's one you would know. James.
Yeah, that doesn't look like the bar.
Oh, yes, it does.
No, that's a different chandelier.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's different.
Well, maybe it's a different part. Seems similar.
Yeah, that's the bar. No, that's a different chandelier.
I bet you this is
the
bar.
Can you not tell
area.
Shapes?
No, yeah, of course I can. But
that's
I'm guessing
not the same damn chandelier.
Same color shirt and pants.
Back in town for our Christmas.
Well, I mean, he's got Ohio State gear on. Come on.
Yeah. Wants to make sure he's recognized. All right, so there's a freeze frame. Is there anything else? No, I can't get over this. What's going on here? I mean, this girl looks just like Kathy Ireland.
So if you're the head coach of NFL team, apparently you do better in the female department than non-head coaches of NFL teams. Is all that means.
Have you ever been to Ohio? I mean, first of all, I didn't think that Ohio had this kind of talent. I mean, there's that.
So let's read what it says. Enjoyed seeing. Go back up.
There you go.
Enjoyed seeing Coach Meyer.
Urban Meyer back in town for our bro Chris's birthday.
Okay.
Is he wearing the same thing? Let's see. Is he wearing the same thing?
Looks like it.
Yep. Yeah, it does. It looks like he's wearing the same thing. Yeah. Oh, no. Same. Is it the same thing?
Yep.
Same color. All right.
But it doesn't look like it's the same bar. That looks like different chandelier.
Okay, well, we're not going to get squirrely down that road. I think part of it might be a restaurant and part of it might be a bar. It seems like.
Well, who's the guy in the white shirt? Let's see. Go back up. Is there a guy in the white shirt there? Yeah, maybe that guy.
Boom.
So let's go back to the video. Let's see if we can see.
Well, the guy in the hat. I think on the guy in the hat in the background. I'm pretty sure that is Brian Laundrie.
Solid.
So go back to the video. Let's see if this guy here in the white shirt is in the video.
I need to stop sharing that one and I need to start sharing. There you go. All right, here we go. There's a white shirt. Oh, but a shaved head. The guy in the white shirt next to him was thick, had hair and a beard. Mm-hmm. This guy's got a shaved head. So, all right, well, Urban Meyer has been humbled, and this will probably
place is a little bit more casual because he's got shorts on.
Yeah,
and she's got white shoes and a white belt after Labor Day, so I don't know.
we still didn't get to the thing that I really wanted to talk about, but we'll have to double back on that tonight. And again, tonight's show, the Pillow Talk show, may be a little bit late because I have a football game and there's a Monday night football game. And I think we're just going to make that a regular thing. When there's a football game on, we're going to wait until the primetime football game is over before we sign on. But also I'm thinking that I have a football game that I have to go to for my son tonight. So that typically might make it close for me to get back here. I wanted to get into the whole Britney Spears thing, something that James completely got me all worked up about over the weekend. And we were going to do it yesterday at the end of the show, but we ran out of time. So there's
the
that.
dad got canned, didn't he? As the conservator?
Oh, yeah.
That's part of it.
That's how many days old is that, James? No, the story is that Britney's now free and she's going bonkers on her Instagram.
No, Emil wants to talk about her fiscal issues.
No, I want to talk about.
This is much better, Emil. This is much better.
I want to talk about how the bad girl is behaving now that Daddy isn't in control of everything. Dude, she's gone nuts on Instagram ever since getting her.
Well, when we had Instagram.
Right, because Instagram. Well, let's see. Is it still down?
All right. So did you get that text?
What text?
So this was interesting from Ed.
Yes, share that. I was going to talk about that as well. Again, the top story today trending across all platforms is the Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp outage.
So data over 1.5 billion Facebook users is being sold on a popular hacking related forum. Data contains users' names, emails, phone numbers, locations, genders, and user ID.
So everybody with their Facebook information is now being sold to a bunch of sketchy people on the dark web.
Well, whenever
then he came back after that and said, working on confirming this. And then just recently just tweeted, okay, I don't think this is related to today's outage, but it's still bad.
Yeah. It's still bad. It's when it rains, it pours. Here's the deal. I ain't got nothing nobody wants a piece of. You know, it's like if I had a couple $1 million in the bank, I might be more concerned about these kinds of things. I got nothing. And as far as my Facebook goes, the email that is linked to my Facebook account hasn't been used in a decade. The phone number that is linked to my Facebook account is a phone that I had 10 years ago. It has nothing to do with nothing. And I can't imagine that I've ever done anything that's proprietary or important to me personally on Facebook, other than my deepest, darkest thoughts.
Yeah. Hope you like
anybody else worried about anything that's now my Google would be different. You told me that they gotten into my Google. Now we got a problem because my Google Wallet has everything. It has my banks. It has my driver's license. It has credit card numbers. I'm just offering this up to people out there who are like, hey, let's make Pugs' life miserable by hacking into his Google Wallet. No, I got to change that. But yeah, Facebook doesn't really scare me. Neither does Twitter. There's like nothing there that, you know.
Well, when it comes back up, everyone just change your passwords. That's all.
You get into my Facebook or my Twitter, you're gonna find nothing but hot takes on White Sox baseball. That's basically all it's been for the last couple of months. It's not exactly like I'm, giving out any proprietary information. All right, the end of the show here, I wanted to talk about a couple of things. Okay, first of all, I don't know that we're gonna have time here because we only got 8 minutes, although we have all the time in the world because, we're not up against anything else. But I wanted to talk about Many Saints of Newark, but maybe that's a discussion that needs to be a little bit longer. And I'm not sure that everybody has seen it. Have you seen it, James?
No, I have not.
No, James has not seen it yet. And E, you're not going to see it. So
what do you mean? I am going to see it. I just haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I don't think you should see it until you've seen the series. I think that there's way too many Easter eggs that make it really fun. And if you're not familiar, if you don't catch them, then you're going to be like,
so I need to watch every Sopranos.
Yes, you do.
That's
yes,
all.
you do. Yeah, that is unfortunately the reality of this. But we did all see Squid Game. So let's get into that. Let's talk. Or James, have you finished Squid Game?
No.
Not even close. I have. E has. Right, we're done without spoilers. Let's give a quick little review of Squid Game. But first, I want to throw something out there for people. If you like documentaries and if you like sport, I discovered something over the weekend that basically every moment that I had where I could just sit and relax and watch something, it was spent watching this. So I've talked before about how much I love the 30 for 30 series on ESPN.
Yes, we're all
30
fans. Yeah.
Right. 30 for 30 is a series of documentary films made by big name filmmakers concerning sports subjects that they are obsessed with. Like if you're like a big movie director and maybe you make horror films, but you actually love the 1972 Dolphins, you might make a documentary about the 72 or whatever it is. So it's a whole series. 30 for 30 has been going on for a very long time. Jimmy Kimmel made a 4-part, 4-hour documentary series called Once Upon a Time in Queens. And it is the best sports documentary I have ever seen. It is so good. The access that this guy had, just being Jimmy Kimmel, everybody participated in this thing. Everybody you wanted to hear from sat down. And it's not Jimmy Kimmel. You don't see Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel is just the executive producer. But this was a passion project between him and his cousin Sal. Is that a character? That's like a character from a show,
Cousin
right?
Sal.
Is that I don't watch Jimmy Kimmel.
I
Yeah,
don't
that's
either.
a character.
That is a character. So that's like one of the. So this is Sal and Jimmy Kimmel. They created this 30 for 30, and again, 30 for 30s are always just 90-minute films. They're one-off 90-minute films. This is a 4-part series called Once Upon a Time in Queens, and this may mean nothing to you, James, but you're going to understand why it needed 4 parts. This is the story of the 1985 and 1986 New York Mets. The Doc Gooden, the Strawberries, the Lenny Dykstras. I mean, this team was. Now, I loved this. Maybe not you because you're a Yankee guy, but maybe there's still some bit of an affiliation. I don't know. But if you were a sports fan in 1986, the Mets, the Buckner ball, that's how it all ends. I'm not spoiling anything because baseball fans know this.
And the addiction.
Everybody was on coke all the time. The manager, Davy Johnson, was chain smoking cigarettes and drinking 6-packs in the dugout during the game. I mean, but pound for pound, this is one of the most impressive baseball lineups I've ever seen. I mean, you got Hall of Famers in Gary Carter, Hall of Famer in Keith Hernandez, George Foster, Mookie Wilson, Lenny Dykstra, Doc Gooden, Darryl Strawberry, Kevin Mitchell, Wally Backman. I mean, it was just the team that they assembled was absolutely nuts as far as talent goes. And what was going on in the locker rooms and behind the scenes. They won 108 games. I mean, nobody could beat them, and they were high and drunk the entire season. So if you like baseball, you like baseball history, and you have a bit of an affinity for that particular team, and I do, because that particular team was, all of my Cub fans hated that team. And I, of course, as a White Sox fan who hated the Cubs, loved that New York Mets team would come to town. And, dude, they won the division by like 30 games.
Whoa.
They just wiped everybody out. And again, they were all high on coke and half in the bag the entire season. So it's called Once Upon a Time in Queens. It's the story of the 1986 New York Mets. And if you're a sports fan, I highly recommend it. It is the most enjoyable sports docuseries I've ever seen. All right, so now moving on. Squid Game. You finished Squid Game, E. Give me your thoughts on Squid Game.
Well, I think it's set up perfectly for another series. The way it ended, and the way they got out and things worked out, I think.
Right, without spoilers, without telling anybody who won or what the great reveal is about who put the game together, it certainly does seem like the final 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the series was, you going to watch next season? Look at what's going to happen now, huh?
Yep. Yeah, I mean.
Overall, what'd you think? Because we were big on the first 3-4 episodes.
I mean, it did get a little repetitive in terms of there you have 456 contestants, and after about 400 and some deaths, I think they kind of played that out a little bit.
Yeah, we only really got to see about 15 deaths. They just mass wiped out 300 and something people between episodes.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
I mean, no, we saw a lot more than that, but you didn't
we
know
saw
who the
carnage.
characters. Yeah,
Right. We
you
didn't know the
didn't know
we
who the
only got to know
characters.
about 10 characters, and then they just wiped out 356 people indiscriminately in the carnage that was the episodes.
What was interesting though, and not to spoil it, there was a time during that during the marble game when I was like, did they really get rid of that guy? And I waited.
Okay,
And
time out. He's not spoiling anything because you're going to be very careful about this because I did not have that. That was go ahead, continue. Just
well,
but be wary that people don't know.
right. No, but
Yeah,
I'm just saying
what happened.
there was a time during the marble game where I was like, did they really get rid of that guy? And then I heard the player's number and I was like, oh yeah, and that was just kind of
Right.
okay.
But
Because
it wasn't we didn't like
you did not see
right.
the gore.
The other main characters, we saw them put down. We saw them what was it? Eliminated. We saw them,
Eliminated.
but you are right. And I didn't pick up on it at the time, but you bringing it up now, I go, hey, that's right.
And that was that to me was the only tell, that I was like, huh. But then when they called the number, I was like, okay.
Okay, must be.
Must
And I
be.
thought that maybe not depicting that in the way they had the others. I thought, well, maybe it's more powerful because he was such a likable. They were such a likable individual. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to see. That's the emotion of it that you hear the number and that's how you know. But you're right. That is a very good pickup on your part because I did not in the moment pick up on that.
Yeah, no, and I actually did during the actual thing, but then they put me back to sleep. I was like, okay.
Okay, here's my issue. Overall, what would you get it on a scale of 1 to 4, 4 being the best, 1 being the worst? What would you give it?
I'd give it a 3 for sure.
That's
3.
right where I am. Yeah, that is right where I am. I'm at a 3. And I'll tell you why. The first 3 episodes, man, talk about hit the ground running. They come out and it is mind blowing. It is like, whoa. Then there's like 4, 5, 6, and 7 where it's just, okay, we're going to do this for another 3 hours. We're just going to keep grinding this out. Where is this plot going? I thought the entire series could have been done instead of 9 parts. It could have been done in 5 and it could have been made better, more concise. But, for whatever reason, they made it 9 episodes, I guess for international distribution, because that's what series typically are between 9 and 12. I don't know that I'm going to watch the second season. And I got to be honest, the final episode, aside from the reveal, but 30, 35, 40 minutes into the final episode, I was getting angry because it didn't seem like they were going to explain anything. It didn't seem like I was going to get any answer. We did. There is a payoff. You do get the answers, but it took so long for that.
Yeah, I thought it got a little muddy in episode like 7 when they started to do the things that weren't related to the games and started to weave the other stories into it.
Yeah.
Like that's where it got like a little bit muddy. And I would think like my earlier rating was a 4. And just because of that little lull and getting a little muddy there, like some of the plot lines got a little bit confusing and not necessarily as believable. And so that's when my rating dropped to a 4. But if I then go to things that are still left on the table, there are things that were done in those, I think number 6 or number 7, when the one guy was on an island that we still don't have an answer for. A year later, the follow-up, so there's things that I think with the second series, they've got an opportunity to tie it together and make it really good.
There was one character who, if you've watched Squid Game, I'm not giving anything away. There was one character who was neither one of the people operating the game or people participating in the game. there was another outside character who had, shall we say, infiltrated the situation.
Right.
I believed that character was going to, that character to me in retrospect seems, without giving anything away, to have just been a huge waste of time. Just like a big straw man to sort of take
But
our
he did
attention
leave
down
something hanging, and they haven't followed up on that. So I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Season 2, I guess. I would say that 3 on a scale of 0 stars to 4 stars. 3, I'm comfortable with. If we were doing it on a school grade, I would give it a B, not a B, not B minus, not a B plus, not an A minus, not an A plus. I would give it a solid B. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. I think you will too. Squid Game. And make no mistake, season 2 is coming, because there is absolutely, that's the whole last whatever seemed to be setting up season 2.
All right, I guess I need to get caught up then.
Yeah. Do you feel like we spoiled anything there? Because I was trying
No.
to be real respectful of other people and their viewing habits. And maybe they're 3 episodes in, 4 episodes in. I haven't told you he, she, they, it. The winner. I don't think we've given that away. That's a bit of a surprise. That's
What
that's
sucks is I lost a couple of my favorites.
Well, it's like Game of Thrones. Don't get attached to any character thinking that they're going to be the one you're going to ride with this whole series.
Right.
Because
I did lose a couple of my favorites. I was
they're
like,
going to
oh.
kill you up.
It's
Teach
just
me more.
it's a Korean Hunger Games.
It's an oversimplification.
Yeah,
but,
it's very reductive.
I think it's a Korean Running Man. I think that's a better sort of or Korean. It's just a Korean thing. And by the way, make no mistake, I know we've run a little bit over here. You watch when this whole Facebook thing comes, when it's all revealed what that's about, it's going to be the Koreans. It's going to be the Koreans. I'm telling you, it's going to be the Koreans who took all this. Everything is about the Koreans these days. Everything. They're the hot nation. All right, we're going to be back tonight. We'll do Pillow Talk Edition. That's when we'll definitely get into the Britney Spears stuff, because I've got a whole bunch that I want to talk about that. And anything else, that happens between now and then. Tonight's Pillow Talk Edition will probably air, not probably, I'm going to be a little bit more declarative. It will air at 10:30 as opposed to 10 o'clock. I've got things I may have to do. And then there's a football game, so that's just sort of the thing that we do. Whenever there's a football game, we try and wait for that to end, and then we come on and do the show. There's also been some... Never mind. We're just going to, I was going to say something, but never mind. Thank you, James Parker, down there in New Orleans, joining us today for the lunchtime broadcast. It's always nice. The artist, he's over there in the big house. He makes everything work. We are very appreciative for his appearances here on the show. I certainly am, because it's hard for me to do this by myself. And you, the good folks who stayed with us, even though the Facebook, which is our primary platform, was down the entire show. You found us on YouTube. Look at him. There he is. And there he is. And we are out of here. This has been High Noon, Pugs and Company, with James Parker and the artist on the Radio Misfits Network. See you at 10:30 tonight for Pillow Talk.